Welcome back, everyone. I'm Robbie.
I'm Jeremy.
And we're nearing the end of our Harry Potter countdown as we get closer to Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. We're doing the first part of the Deathly Hallows. Here we go.
Hit it!
These are dark times, there is no denying.
Tell me where it is.
Our world has faced no greater threat than it does today. But you can't fight this war on your own, Mr. Potter. He's too strong.
Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 was directed by David Yates, and we have Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson, of course, along with a lot of returning cast. And we have Bill Nye, who joins the cast briefly as the new Minister of Magic. And yeah, it's a vastly different film, this one.
Yeah, it is. The thing I loved about... Originally, I wasn't sure if splitting it into two movies was a good idea. I thought that they should have probably done it for Order of the Phoenix more so, but I'm so glad they did in the end because I loved how different this one was, not only from the Half-Blood Prince, but also from Part 2, because it kind of follows their journey, you know, on their own, sort of dealing with problems themselves. And like a lot of it is sort of just them walking and talking and...
It's a road trip, pretty much.
Yeah, like the hunt for the Horcruxes kind of deal is just like following them and...
Yeah.
It's...
Before we get into any more story details, once again, spoiler warning for both movie and book, including probably parts for Part 2, because we'll have to touch on since this is the one story. So that's your warning for both Part 1 and Part 2, Deathly Hallows. How do you feel this one compares to the book? Well, I mean, to the first half of the book, eh?
Pretty good. I think the advantage with splitting it into two is you can spend more time on both of them, which is good. I mean, of course, there were a lot of inaccuracies in certain bits, but like we've touched on that before, it kind of has to be made. And I feel like, you know, with J.K. Rowling watching over every, you know, set that she can, she wouldn't have let anything less important slip through. Like, I remember... reading something about her, David originally didn't want to put creature into either of them. The black family.
You talking about David Yates or David Heyman, the
Sorry,
producer?
David Yates.
David Yates.
Didn't want to put creature in at all. And J.K. Rowling said that would be a very bad idea. And
yeah, he's kind of vital to one particular point.
Exactly, yeah, and not to mention, talking about the book, like he plays a huge role in the hunt for the Horcruxes as well.
Yeah.
So, like stuff like that, I think I'm glad that they listened to J.K. I mean, they had to basically, but like that's where the movies sort of succeed. But yeah, I mean. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that was too distant in Part 1 from the book.
The only bit that really comes to mind that is different is Wormtail's demise. In the book, Wormtail is killed by his own hand, by the hand that Voldemort created. Essentially, everyone kind of assumes now that the hand that Voldemort created for Wormtail was almost keeping him at bay, so if Wormtail ever does betray Voldemort, the hand will kill him, and that's exactly what happens. In the book, Wormtail lets Harry and the kids and the others get away, essentially, and in doing so, he kills himself. Whereas in the movie, he is taken out by Dobby.
But even then,
it's not even clear if he is dead, or he just kind of like gets hit in the back by the wand. He kind of like, ow, falls over and you just never see him again.
It's pretty funny, but also, that's literally his last scene in the entire series. And in the book, he's such a pivotal and important character, not only to, you know, the main three, and especially Harry, but also to Voldemort. Like, Peter Pettigrew is pretty much the reason Voldemort came back. And it's probably, I mean, like, he's still a bad guy, but it's probably still an insult to the character just to have him, you know, that one scene.
Yeah, taken out just like that.
Yeah.
Especially because, I mean, part 3, he's got a massive part. In Goblet of Fire, like we see, he's got a huge role. And his role's kind of very much just sidelined from then on out in the movies. And it doesn't really impact on Order of the Phoenix or Half-Blood Prince because he hasn't got that much to do in those books. But in Deathly Hallows, I think that should have been a bit better.
Yeah, definitely.
That's really my only big gripe with the film.
Yeah.
I was like you, I was kind of skeptical about them splitting into 2 parts. I generally don't like it. And movies since Deathly Hallows that I've done it have proven my case, where it's just far too drawn out. Hunger Games being a classic example where there was no need for that.
Yeah.
This one needs it because there is so much to wrap up. After 6 movies and 6 books, there are so many plot threads and things that need to tie up properly. And it's almost on a level of like, you know, Return the King, where they have so many characters and so many story points in different places, but from where they started, and you need to see all these things resolved. And I think doing it in a 2.5 hour movie, while it would have been an epic 2.5 hours, I think it would have been emotionally fulfilling.
Yeah, I think it's like Warner Brothers made the executive decision. We, you know, the fans, we can't get this wrong in just one movie. The fans want, you know, they want the full experience.
Yeah. And like in Half-Blood Prince, they removed that small battle at Hogwarts at the end of the movie, knowing that, you know, they were going to put everything to the Battle of Hogwarts in part 2.
Yeah, I didn't want to.
And, you know, you couldn't just have the Battle of Hogwarts be a 20-minute thing. It had to go on for a while, because it's not just the battle like you see when you see the movie. There is so much going on, and that all comes in from part 1. And so you need to have all that properly laid out before going to the battle. And I think having that hour and a half to play with extra really helps the film.
Yeah.
I know some people thought that Deathly Hallows Part 1 was quite boring compared to the first ones. I can kind of see where they're coming from. I don't think it's boring at all. It is definitely a slower paced film compared to any of the others. It does kick off with a bang, but then once they actually get on the road and they start camping, there is a lot of that.
But that's the same as the book, though.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, like, in a way, for, you know, for movie viewers, it, like, I agree with you. I understand why they think it's boring, but that, like, they're just trying to stay faithful to the book, which is great. One thing I also wanted to touch on was Exophilius Lovegood's role.
I forgot to mention him before, Rhys Ifans, or Ifans, I can't remember his name,
And, like, the whole story of the Deathly Hallows, told by Hermione as well.
Oh, that whole scene is
so brilliant.
Oh, it's flawless.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
great.
It. The use of animation during that storytelling bit is so good.
Yeah.
It's creepy.
Yeah, it is. It is really creepy. But, like, that's sort of where everything starts coming together, and you start piecing, I mean, in the book and the movie, you start piecing everything together, and, like, things start to move a little bit faster.
Yeah. There's that brilliant infiltration of the Ministry of Magic, which was fantastic as well. Got Umbridge coming back for a brief role.
Yaxley, of course.
Yeah, Yaxley, and I'm glad they didn't skip out on moments like, I mean, they're not even in the book, they're just little emotional bits. Like, I like how they had that really touching little dance between Harry and Hermione, and those little moments like that really help elevate the emotional stakes, I think, of the film going forwards. And there's one bit actually that they cut out, which I am... Actually, the Peter Pettigrew bit isn't my biggest issue with the film. It's the opening. While I think it's a fantastic opening, they cut out the farewell of the Dursleys, and that is such a huge moment in the book.
Yeah.
And it's such a huge payoff in the book, and it's completely skipped over.
Yeah, you're right. The fact that, like, they almost forgive Harry, and they almost, like, thank him.
It's a big emotional scene,
It is.
And you finally see the Dursleys in a different light.
And I mean, that's what J.K. Rowling does so well. Like, she wrote that so perfectly in the book.
There's so many layers to her characters.
Yeah. Also, on top of the Dursleys' farewell is also the fact that Hermione's parents, her wiping their memories, is never properly explained in the movie as well. Like, they went on a holiday to Australia, and even after the whole battle, she sort of brought them back and gave them memory back. And that's never explained.
None of that's in the movie.
Yeah.
You just assume that they've lost their daughter, which is tragic.
Yeah, even that whole scene, like, where she's doing it and the picture frames, like, that's pretty sad. Especially because they're muggles. They have nothing to do with any of the whole battle or anything. They probably don't even know what's happening. And then,
Well, they know something's wrong because, like Hermione says in Half-Blood Prince, even my parents know something's wrong and they're muggles.
That's true.
But they just don't know the extent of it.
Yeah.
And then the big scene, probably the most infamous one from the movie that everyone will remember is
Dobby's death.
Yeah.
Pretty sad.
That's a heartbreaking
But
scene.
that came pretty much perfectly from book to screen, I felt. I mean, it's quite literally heart-wrenching in the fact that, like, they couldn't do anything about it, and
he gets a hero's death though. He dies saving them all.
Everyone. Yes.
Yeah. One thing that I thought was great was the tone of the book really comes across on screen, because the book is far more brutal than any of the previous books. And even with characters dying, previously they've all been killed by magic, so it's essentially bloodless. Here you get characters dying, like Dobby, he gets killed by a knife. The teacher at the beginning is killed by Nagini. There are some fairly brutal deaths in this one, and I'm glad that they didn't shy away from that. They very easily could have tried to make it more family friendly, but I'm glad that they stuck to the book with those things.
Yeah, definitely. It really, like, if you thought, like, a Half-Blood Prince was starting to take it to a next level, this one really steps it up.
Yeah, and then part 2 takes it even further.
Yeah.
One other thing that I definitely want to mention is the score. Alexander Desplat comes in to compose this one, and man, he does a good job.
Yeah, it does.
It's probably this and part 1 and part 2 are probably two of my favorite scores in the entire series. Second to John Williams' original one. Which is
still being used, even.
It's
in
still
these
being
ones.
used.
Yeah.
But he brings in so many amazing new themes, not just in part 1 but in part 2 as well. He brings in even more, and they're so good.
Yeah.
The main theme in part 1, which is used for Snape to Malfoy Manor, and it's used again a couple of times. It's kind of like the adventure dark theme. Is so good.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, that Snape to Malfoy Manor, a lot of that, the credit to that scene goes to Alan Rickman as well. And his performance as Snape, like, completely deadpan, serious, running late to, like, Voldemort's dinner, basically. Like, that's not something you do lightly, but, to him it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy, like, the amount of emotion that scene has. And not to mention, he is about to witness, like, one of his good friends at Hogwarts being killed and then eaten by a snake.
Yeah.
Like,
That whole scene was excellent. Great establishing the tone scene for the rest of the film. And you kind of get to see where all the bad guys are at one time, so you can't see what emotional state they're in as well. Like, Voldemort's feeling very optimistic and everything. Like, he's very carefree almost in the whole thing. Lucius, on the other hand, is completely different to how we've ever seen him before in the series. He's, the pompous egomaniac almost is completely gone now. He's this terrified, empty shell of a human being now.
Yeah, it's almost as if over the movies he's realised what he's actually got himself into.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh shit, like, this is not good.
Yeah.
And Draco is the same.
Yeah. Draco you start to see that in the Half-Blood Prince as well.
Yeah, exactly.
On the other hand, Bellatrix just keeps having fun.
Yeah, see, Bellatrix is like the deranged cousin. Literally.
She's a deranged cousin.
Literally the deranged cousin, where she's like, she doesn't care about anything. She just
Yeah.
wants to watch the world burn.
Yeah.
And so long as like Voldemort's around it, you know.
She's essentially the Joker of the film. She's just unpredictable.
Yeah,
She's not in it for anything apart from just the pleasure of it all.
exactly.
Kind of sick and twisted, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are our overall thoughts for part 1. We'll be going into part 2, obviously, in the next video. But for part 1, what are you giving it?
5 stars.
Me too, 5 stars. Even for those couple things that would have been better done, the film has such an emotional punch and is so overall excellent. I think it
Definitely.
deserves it, yeah.
You after you, Mr. Potter?
Tell me where it is.
You really don't stand a chance.
Help me!
I have seen your heart, and it is mine.
Alright guys, thanks for watching. Those are our thoughts on Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. Hit the subscribe button if you're keen on checking out our thoughts on Part 2 and Fantastic Beasts and where to find them in the lead up to Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald next week.
It's a mouthful.
It is. Anyway guys, we'll see you at the movies.